Boy, this is a coincidence. As I'm doing a review for a Rugrats video game, a brand new Rugrats game has been announced. Rugrats Adventures in Gameland. It looks to be an 8-bit style platformer that carries elements from Super Mario Bros. 2, as well as other NES platformers at the time like DuckTales and Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers. There's also an HD mode which has a graphical style that looks just like the cartoon. It looks really good. I'm gonna keep my eye out on this one because I have a feeling this will be right up my alley. Anyway, on to the review. As an early 90s kid, I grew up with a lot of Nickelodeon. Doug, Ren and Stimpy, Ariel Monsters, Rocco, Angry Beavers, Kablam, Hey Arnold, Cat Dog, Wild Thornberrys, Rocket Power. But among them was Rugrats. Before SpongeBob came along, Rugrats was the most popular cartoon on Nickelodeon. The show was about 4 babies that go out on adventures while using their imaginations. The babies consist of the group leader Tommy Pickles, the easily frightened Chuckie Finster, and the weird and disgusting twins Phil and Lil Deville. Tommy and his friends are often antagonized by his older cousin Angelica. You know, being a huge Rugrats fan back in the day, I can only assume that that's the reason why I got this game. Maybe I asked my parents for it. You know, back then I remember enjoying it, but it's been like probably at least a decade since I last played it. People nowadays that's familiar with this game might see this as a Mario Party clone. To be honest, this game was released several months after Mario Party 1 came out, or at least in the US, because I know it came in Japan in 1998, but it's really hard to call this game a Mario Party clone because yes, it's a typical board game, but there's very few things that's similar to Mario Party, and I'll get into that once I get into the review, which I don't see it as a Mario Party clone. Oh, listen to that intro. Oh yes, very nostalgic. It's the type of music that hopefully won't get me copyrighted. It's a very cozy rendition of the Rugrats theme, and I think it fits well with this game. So the opening cutscene begins with Dee Dee being excited to play a board game. Grandpa explains the rules shortly before falling asleep, leaving Tommy and Chuckie confused by this boring game. Angelica comes over and explains to the babies that it's a board game because you play it on a board. And then Grandpa wakes back up. So as you start to play the game, you choose between 3 different boards you want to play on: Angelica's Tempo, Pirate Treasure Hunt, and Reptar Rally, with the choice of making your board size small, medium, or large. I usually pick medium or large just for a better experience, especially if you're playing with friends. You play up to 4 players between Tommy, Chuckie, Lil, or Phil, because for some reason they put Lil before Phil. Reminds me of The Simpsons arcade with that odd choice of putting Marge as player 1 and Homer player 2, when Homer's the more popular character. And it's a small nitpick, who cares? Right away you'll notice the babies wear attire based on the board theme you choose. Kinda like Mario Party 2 before Mario Party 2. Yep, this game was released in 1999, a year after the Rugrats movie, which explains why Dill is in this game. Phil and Lil are once again arguing over their Reptar doll when they knock over their sippy cup, which spills all over the board. Angelica scolds the babies and tells them about Reptar's home where there's a big mess of candy. While this piques the twins' interest, this didn't appeal to Chuckie, who says that he doesn't like messes, but luckily his best friend Tommy assures him that they can get all sorts of candy, and this leads to the game, Reptar Rally. So the goal of this game is for each baby to collect 3 groups of sweets while on Reptar's island. The baby who collects all of them visits Reptar on top of the mountain and wins the game. Pretty sweet, huh? You get it? I'll see myself out. Each of these 3 board games will have you roll the dice for how many spaces you move, not unlike Mario Party. Your bar in the upper left hand corner is basically your stats, and tells you how much of each candy you found. Each of the sweets you need to find are in multiples of 5. For example, Tommy needs to find 5 licorice, 10 milks, and 15 puddings. To the right of your picture are Reptar bars. Reptar bars are kinda your currency collectible, similar to the coins in Mario Party. You get these by landing on Reptar bar spaces, which depending on the number gives you that amount. Reptar bars are needed to access zones or to change stats or to trade candies with another baby, whether they like it or not. But it's mainly the desserts that you want, and to get these you'll need to enter your opponent's zones, which are each themed with sweets that you need to get. You won't get anything out of your own zone, which makes sense. Tommy's zone is ice cream, Chuckie's is licorice, Phil's is pudding, and Lil's is milk. Particularly of the chocolate variety, and I'm fine with that because I'll take chocolate milk over plain milk any day. If the number of candy you've collected turns green, that means you've got everything. When this happens, no one can steal the amount that baby completed. As for the board itself, you start off on a deserted island, it was right there, shut up, where you'll want to land on a key space to get to a zone. You know, it's been a while since I played this game, probably like at least a decade, but it brought back a lot of nostalgic memories. Sure, it wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. It was all about having fun. Anyway, I started off moving towards a mystery candy and choosing which baby I want to set a trap for. These consist of covering spaces with banana peels and mudslides where a baby can slip to a random space, or sticking their feet with syrup leaving them unable to move, using up their turn. After each baby's turn, Reptar, who's at the very top of his own little area, also moves spaces. If he or one of the babies land on the same space side to side, he triggers an event where he gives the babies everything he collected and helps them out by either setting their zone's value to lose candy they collected or to kick them out of their zones. As with any board game, each space you land on has a different effect. The take a chance space causes a baby to slip forward or back a space. The whammy space will either randomly set the baby's Reptar bar count to even the odds, or allow a baby to trade candies with another to give the player an advantage. A lookout below space will only be an issue if another baby lands on an explanation space, causing the baby to launch onto another area. Key spaces either give you access to a specific baby zone, or you'll get a rainbow key which freely allows you to enter any zone you want. The only thing though is that you don't know what kind of key you're going to get. You could get a key that may take you to, like, say, Phil zone, but if you already have all the puddings, you may not need it. I think they should have just stuck with the rainbow key. Next we have Angelica's temple. First off, with this game and Pirate Treasure Hunt, you can set the board size to either small, medium, or large. And you can set the spaces to mystery spaces, which I ended up doing for Pirate Treasure Hunt. Stu orders replicas of Aztec statues from the shopping network. While he leaves the room, Grandpa tells a story about his time exploring the temple of Coca-Cola before falling asleep. Chuckie feels uneasy about the statues and Angelica tells them that they're cursed before accidentally breaking them. Then you get this weird narration with a creepy voice telling you how to play the game. Missed opportunity here, but why not Olmec?
Into the hole and find the key, but be careful. One of the trees could be inhabited by the spirit of a temple god. If they grab you, you'll be really scared because this is like a full-grown adult who's going to touch you and has like full permission to do so. I've said that this is inappropriate and that we definitely shouldn't do this part, but we will anyway.
So this game is the only time where the players need to work together. The objective is that the babies will need to find all of their statue pieces before Angelica finds all of hers. In order to search for them, you'll need to land on a space with a magnifying glass on it. Then you can move the camera around the search spots to look for a statue piece. You'll also come by other items such as a screwdriver, which gives you access to secret passageways to other rooms. Compasses, which allow you to move in any direction. I don't know why I would need something to make me move in any direction, but okay. And a dust bunny which does absolutely nothing. The game is very vague on explaining how the rules work, so when I first played it as a kid, I was a little lost on what to do. I'll get into this shortly. This board game also has 3 different NPCs: Grandpa, Spike, and of course Angelica. Grandpa gives the babies cookies, Spike allows the babies a ride, and Angelica is the obstacle of the game. She can search for statue pieces for herself. Instead of Reptar bars, you'll need to collect cookies. Cookies can be used to give to Angelica so she doesn't steal your statue piece. Makes sense with how much that girl loved cookies in the show. If any of the players encounter her, she'll either steal 10 of your cookies or a statue piece if you don't have enough cookies for her. She's like a temple guard. However, there was a moment where Chuckie stole the piece back from her, but it did involve his cookies. He went from 18 to 10. This kinda goes back into the vague rules I was talking about earlier. The babies need to get their statue pieces before Angelica gets hers, and I can totally understand you finding one of Angelica's pieces or Angelica finding one of your pieces as a way to screw each other over. And even Angelica stealing her piece or your piece from you, cause again, she's the main obstacle. But literally nowhere did the game say that you can steal a piece back from her. Now since Chuckie lost Cookies, I can only assume Cookies had something to do with it, but there needs to be more to it. Am I missing something? The board layout and spaces are all different from Reptar Rally. There are cookie spaces where you'll either get 2 cookies, 4 cookies, or lose cookies if you land on a red cookie space. Landing on a sandbox space protects you from Angelica, at least I believe. A dill space has dill randomizing and switching all the spaces around. I do get a kick out of his theme. There's also the Z space and the crib space. One thing you'll need to keep in mind is the number next to the Z's in your picture bar. This happens to be your energy. With each space you move, the number decreases. The lower the number gets, the baby starts to become tired. They'll make this apparent to the player once their turn starts. There's several ways to get your energy back. The first is to land on a Z space where the baby will take a nap. The second is to land on a crib space. This triggers a scene where Stu or Dee Dee will put the baby to sleep. The next turn sees you exiting the crib and getting back to the main board game. This does waste a turn, so keep that in mind. And the third is to go to your menu and trade cookies for energy. It's an interesting mechanic for a game where you're playing as babies, so I think it works out real well. And the final game is Pirate Treasure Hunt. Stu builds a model pirate ship, Grandpa tells a story, and falls asleep again. Angelica tells the babies that whoever can find all the treasure for her will be her first matey. Susie, who you can see a bit of her model in the next room, decides that she'll help them find this treasure. The narrator, now with a different voice, explains the rules, vaguely once again. Why not Patchy the Pirate?
Ahoy, sponge lovers! I'm Patchy the Pirate, and welcome to the Bikini Bottoms Up Tour. Using the arrows and the enter button on your DVD remote, you can find out more about my favorite place on earth, Bikini Bottom. Well, let's get going. What do you mean you can't find the remote? Look in the cushions. The other cushion. I can wait. You got it yet? Let's go!
So you're back to competing against each other, now underwater with scuba diving gear. You'll need to find all 4 pieces of different treasure before the other babies do. The board layout works exactly like Angelica's temple. Grandpa and Spike serve the same roles as before, but now Angelica thankfully has been replaced with Susie Carmichael, who gives the babies treasure for 10 cookies. Now wanting cookies is something I'd expect from Angelica, but Susie, well, you know a little girl's gotta eat. On the plus side, she lets you know when you found all the treasure in an area so you can look elsewhere, and not waste your time in the same room like you'll often be doing in Angelica's temple. When a player lands on the same space as another, this triggers a battle minigame involving cannonball, sword, and flag. It's essentially rock, paper, scissors. Ball breaks sword, sword cuts flag, flag bounces ball. Whoever wins earns the loser's piece of treasure. This game came out around the time SpongeBob SquarePants came out. I think it was a missed opportunity to not tie into the game by having cameos of SpongeBob in this board. I think out of all the boards my favorite is Reptar Rally. It's the most different out of the 3 and there's a lot more to collect. Angelica's temple is also fine because it also has that Legends of the Hidden Temple vibe. And it's really cool that we all get to work together, but sometimes the game can drag longer than it needs to. Pirate Treasure Hunt can be fun at times, but there's not much going for it. Rugrats Scavenger Hunt is a game I would recommend if you're willing to pay for a perfectly average board game with the feeling of missing games from the 32-64-bit era. I admit that I grew up with this game, so I'm a bit biased, but I can still find some enjoyment from it, even with its flaws. There could have been a lot more boards and the rules should have been a bit more clear on how the mechanics work, but I think you might find it fun to play with friends, especially if you're a Rugrats fan. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe for more videos to come. Also, I just opened up a Twitter account, so feel free to follow me there as well. So yeah, that was Rugrats Scavenger Hunt. It's hard to recommend this to people that didn't grow up with this game. It's really probably only going to appeal to you if you're a huge Rugrats fan, or if you're very nostalgic to play old video games on during the N64 era. But it's not a bad game. It's just you can't compare it to Mario Party because maybe there's some similarities, but there's a lot of differences. I don't see it as a Mario Party clone. Again, this game came out a few months after Mario Party. Maybe they took some last minute cues, but point of the matter, it's a decent game. I think it's more fun to play with if you have friends over. But thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Did I already say that? Who cares? I'll see you guys later. Bye.